So, another important figure in understanding the importance of social interaction and socialization and how all that process works is Robert Merton. Robert Merton creates this idea of role theory and provides a way to describe what's actually going on with social interaction. Some important things to understand when you're talking about Merton is the importance of status and role. Status is a position in society that comes with a set of expectations. An ascribed status is one we are born with that is unlikely to change. Example of an ascribed status could be race or sex, i.e. biological sex, male or female. An achieved status is one we have earned through individual effort or that is imposed by others. An achieved status could be a professional position like a manager or chief executive officer or president of the United States. When we talk about status, we talk about one's master status is a status that seems to override all others and affects all other statuses that one possesses. Oftentimes, you will hear a person being called by their master status. For instance, you may hear people talking about that black man. In that example, the description black comes before describing the person as a man. So we can say that black is likely to be the master status. You also hear things like disabled individuals or stupid kid. It's that first word that is usually the master status, and it tends to be the status that people notice above all others. Roles, on the other hand, are behaviors expected from a particular status. So roles are just the behaviors of individuals that are performing within that status of black or disabled or stupid. Role conflict occurs when roles associated with one status clash with the roles associated with a different status. Excuse me. This happens when a person has two different roles to perform and they conflict with one another. For example, if you're a mother and a student, you might have class today and your child might have a soccer game at the same time. As you can see, these two roles are starting to conflict. And you're going to have to choose between the two roles because they are conflicting with one another. This is a mutually exclusive situation. So, as you can see, individual roles in society can create conflict within the individual itself. This, of course, creates role strain, which occurs when roles associated with a single status clash. So with role strain, you have only one role which conflicts with itself. For example, you are a student, so you know you are supposed to study tonight. However, there's also a party tonight. Your roommates pressure you into going to the party because that's what college students are supposed to do. So you can see you're going to have to choose because the single role college student is pulling you in two different directions. And you're going to have to decide which one's more important. Is studying more important? Is that aspect of being a college student more important? Or is partying more important? You could put work in the same situation. One of the things that a college student is going to have to do is work. And to be a college student, you're going to balance work and studying. And then you will have to choose which one's the most important. Gender roles, of course, these are sets of behavioral norms associated primarily with males or females in a given social group or system. As mentioned previously, we talked about as soon as a baby is born, we start socializing him or her into specific roles. In your mind, what were those roles in your own family? Take a moment and think about, how was I socialized to either be a girl or a boy? Or did you have a family situation, which is uncommon, but is becoming more common, where your parents allowed for you to, they tried to socialize you as little as possible in reference to your gender role over the course of your life. Gender theorists argue that gender roles can be more powerful and influential than other roles that people fill, mostly because this is one of the first things that you learn to be. You are biologically equipped with a vagina, therefore you are a girl that will eventually turn into a woman, and there are social expectations to what girls and women do in our society. You biologically are equipped with a penis, and you will be considered a boy, and society will socialize you in the way that boys are socialized, that ultimately turn into men. And these pressures are severe, and they are cultivated by all of those agents of socialization, whether it's the family, the school, peers, and the media, and the church, will, over the course of your life, continually socialize you in reference to those gender norms. This brings us to an important concept in maybe one of the most important concepts in the field of sociology, which is the social construction of reality. What this really means is that we made it up. I break it down to that. It's just that simple. It's what we make up. It's not biological. It's how we define things in culture. People give meaning or value to ideas or objects through social interaction. For example, suppose you're walking down the street and you witness a woman slapping a man in public. Well, what are the possible meanings of that situation? One, it could be a fight or a spousal abuse. Two, it could be a joke or a friendly greeting, especially depending on how hard the slap is. Or it could be that he has just passed out and she's hoping to revive him. Or the participants could be actors shooting a scene from a film. Each of these definitions leads to a different set of potential consequences. What I mean by that is, are you going to intervene? Are you going to call the police? Are you going to stand by and laugh? Are you going to ignore them? Are you going to summon the paramedics? Or are you going to ask for autographs? This, of course, is all dependent on which meaning you are going to act upon. Each definition of the situation lends itself to a different approach, and the consequences are significant. If you respond improperly, you could put yourself or others in harm's way. Symbolic interactionism is it is an important aspect of this idea of the social construction of reality. Symbolic interactionism is a micro-level theory based on the idea that people act in accordance with shared meanings, orientations, and assumptions. We all know that we act a certain way depending on the context. In a job interview, we put our best foot forward. When we're at family dinner, we watch our language. Irving Goffman referred to this acting out, this performance, as dramaturgy, or a dramaturgical theory, which views social life as a theatrical performance in which we are all actors on metaphysical stages with roles, scripts, costumes, and sets. Goffman suggests that every interaction we are part of works this way. That we are always aware of our performance as we are performing it. One of the challenges in life is to choose a person, develop a self that doesn't have to shift and perform in different ways as they move from one aspect of their life to another. So what Goffman is saying is essentially saying what Shakespeare was saying, which is that all the world's a stage and we are merely actors in it. Think about how you change your performance as you move from one group to another. Are you the same with your peers as you are with your family? Are you the same with your family as you are with your workmates? Or do you shift in large or small ways to accommodate the new audience? Social construction of reality. Another important aspect to that is ethnomethodology. This is an approach to studying human interaction that focuses on the ways in which we make sense of our world, convey this understanding to others, and produce a mutually shared social order. This is an idea from Harold Garfinkel, where he developed a method for studying social interactions called breaching experiments, which involved having collaborators exhibit abnormal or atypical behaviors in social interactions in order to see how people would react. Garfinkel suggested that there are unwritten rules in place in society, and the best way to figure out how important those rules are is to break them. If you get a harsh reaction from bystanders, you know that the rule must be fairly important. If people don't notice or don't pay much attention, you will know that the rule that you broke isn't highly valued by that group. We used to encourage sociology students to go out and break informal rules and see what happens out in society. As you can imagine, we don't encourage you to do that much anymore. What we were thinking was more along the lines of, passing gas in an elevator, or stepping into people's personal space, things like that. But by breaking rules, you know what's important. The internet has created new types of social interaction that don't incorporate verbal and visual cues people are accustomed to relying on. It's also changed society by creating new types of crimes and new ways of communicating. Relationships used to be based mainly on physical proximity, but we are now as likely to form non-territorial relationships based on common interests and access to technology that keep people together even when they are physically apart. So these new technologies are opening up new possibilities for how we interact in life in our daily interactions.